Okay, so now we know C is a simple, general-purpose programming language. Let's take a look at some code and get a feel for it. We will now write a simple C program to get you comfortable with the syntax and style of a C program. It is a well-established tradition that the first program we write when learning any programming language is Hello World. Let's get to it. So let's take a look at the anatomy of a typical C program. In order to do that, we'll need the Xcode development environment. We launch the Mac App Store, search for Xcode, download it, and install it. Next, we download the two template files, the C program template and the ObjectiveC program template, and place them in a convenient location. We create a folder called Development. Within Development, we create a subfolder called Anatomy of C. Make a copy of the C program template and place it in the folder. Open the project file in Xcode. Now let's get you acquainted with Xcode. Xcode is a complex development environment, but you'll only be using a small subset of all of its capabilities. On the left, we see the files. In our project, there's one file called main. On the right, we have a utility area that will collapse using this button on the top. If, in fact, we wanted even more space to look at our code, we could collapse the left-hand side. In the middle is where we have our code. When we want to look at the console where the output will be printed, we click this button, and the output will appear over here. So we've opened our project in Xcode. Let's take a look at this code. What you're looking at is a text file in which I've written instructions in C, telling the computer to print Hello World. This text file is converted by a program called the C language compiler into a runnable program called an executable. We'll learn more about the C compiler later. We call this a source file. Its content is called source code, or source, or code. A programmer may even call it a program, which is a bit misleading because a program is actually the thing that runs on the computer, but people often use it for source code as well. The text file is called main.c, and the C suffix indicates that it's a C source code file. Notice the formatting and line indenting. While not a requirement for a working program, you and your fellow programmers will greatly appreciate sensible use of formatting and indenting. It adds greatly to your code's readability, especially when your code is read by fellow team members on a large software project. This line is called an include statement, and it includes a file called standardio.h. The C convention is to use a .h suffix for header files. The line tells the C compiler to locate the C system file standardio.h and prepend its contents to this file before conversion into an executable. Without inclusion of standardio.h, the compiler would expect a programmer to have implemented this function called printf. Since there is no implementation, we would get an error. The rest of this text separates into conceptual chunks we'll go over now. Notice the word main followed by parentheses. Main is the name of this function. Main is the starting point, the entry point for execution of this program. All C programs require the programmer to implement one and only one function named main. The left and right curly braces surround a code block. Within the curly braces are lines of code, each ending with a semicolon. This line is called a statement. These statements define the behavior of the function main. The statement printf hello world instructs the computer to print out the string hello world followed by a new line. The new line is a throwback to the old typewriter days. It resets the location where the next line of text will be printed. A single line of text beginning with double slashes is called a comment. A comment is explanatory text you may write to provide clarifying annotation to a section of code. You should use care when writing comments, though. They can easily become distracting clutter. Well-written C code can be quite readable and tells a concise story of what your program actually does. The last line in this program is return 0. Main is a function, and as such, it returns a value. It's a requirement when you write your main function that it return an integer value, a whole number value. Here we return the integer value 0, indicating to the computer operating system that the function concluded normally. There are no restrictions on the return type of any function that you write. The return type for main is integer. In C, an integer is written as int. High five! You just completed your first code walkthrough.